Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with a weekly comic book roundup. We're most of the way through, and it's time to wrap things up with the last of this week's books. Kicking things off, we've got The Incredible Hulk number 3. Where we left off, Banner and his newfound traveling companion, Charlie, had been brought to a backwoods church that was filled with zombies and seemed to be hoping to summon a demon through sacrifice. The sacrifice of Banner. Of course, the attempt to sacrifice Banner caused Banner to Hulk out and fights off the zombified parishioners, rescues Charlie. They manage to escape, and the church collapses. However, as the church collapses, Charlie falls into the mountain that the church was built in, and Hulk saves her. And then he smashes his way through the rest of the surviving parishioners, but a rather large eldritch horror pops up, and, well, Hulk smashes that too. Eventually, he gets Charlie out of there, but they are Charlie's confronted by the remains of the sheriff, and she proceeds to stomp the remains of his face in. And Hulk decides that, sure, Charlie can be his travel companion, but if tries to make things easier for Banner, they're done. And he also explains that he is trying to separate himself from Banner. And there's a text page, remembrances of eldest Udru, Brother Deep. Basically, that the one above all made creation, but save for a single spark of life that sprang up from no creator, only from itself, the Mother of Horrors. Mother of Horrors basically tried to keep Earth from the one above all's eye. Eventually made her own champion, Udru, or Brother Deep in this case. Udru meaning brighter than he. One above all discovered Earth. Him and One above all and Brother Deep fought it out. Brother Deep was defeated and cast down into a mountain. Time passed, and also the birth of man, coming of Inhumans and the Wadani, the emergence of the fractured sun, and at last the binding of the Mother of Horrors. Men settled upon Udru's mountain and made it their home. All the while, Udru lay deep below, clawing and screaming, burning endlessly, yearning for freedom. Those heard his cries, and as Udru's body burned, the fumes of his flesh seeped through the soil and into the winds above. And so, the people dug and eventually hoping to find him. But well, all were dead and the mines lay still. The will Udru lay dormant within the bones of the men of the mountain, waiting to be awakened by one who loved him. And the eldest, the firstborn daughter of the Mother of Horrors, arrived and awakened Udru. That is where the issue ends. This is definitely turning into an interesting Hulk run so far. I realize we're only 3 issues in, but still, definitely interesting. Moving on to our next book, we've got Ultimate Invasion number 3. Where we left off, Tony Stark had met the Maker, learned a bit of Kang, but before all that, the Maker's big soiree was attacked by an army of what appeared to be superhumans from the future. It was also shown that the Immortus engine was seemingly built by Howard Stark. So the issue begins with Obadiah saying his funeral, as Obadiah was killed in the attack on Latveria. And Howard's son Tony wants to do what he can to help his father, and knows that things are not things cannot the way things are is not how they're supposed to be. But back in Latveria, 2 days previously, back in Latveria, after the attack, the various envoys explain the workings of the world to Howard. Turns out that Obadiah has always kind of handled this, and it's largely just kind of passed off to the passed off to this. It's the kind of thing Howard just kind of kept passed off to the side. You know, let Obadiah deal with how the sausage is made. You know, but kind of getting the lay of the land from Emmanuel da Costa, who's who, and also how things truly work. Basically, every generation or so, one of the various nations becomes the enemy, but it's all planned out. But also, after the attack, most of those present are, well, they kind of want to, counterattack. They want to know who it is they should be attacking. When the way things work is explained to Howard, he explains it's the most insidious thing he's ever heard. But apparently the idea is that peace, achieved, coerced, or enforced, is never a successful long-term strategy. That humanity isn't capable of accepting it. Hulk does not entirely agree with that. He believes that some people, many even, are capable of achieving a state of inner calm that presents as peace. He has to believe it as he's devoted his life to it. But the Maker arrives. And Howard has a question. Namely what the real work is, and, well, the Maker shows him. We also get a map of the world with seats of power and lesser territories, one of which being an undiscovered territory in Africa. I would presume Wakanda. But now Howard and Tony are discussing how to proceed. And Howard kind of wants to just take care of this on his own and not risk Tony's life. A day previously at Latveria, the Maker takes Howard to the city and introduces him to a man who's believed to be the smartest man on Earth, and the Maker is actually kind of agrees. Reed Richards is the smartest man on Earth. Though, oddly enough, Richards is wearing a full mask, a full-headed mask. A mask made of iron. Looks rather familiar, like that of Victor Von Doom. We have an epilogue as well. In the far future, Kang is trying to get his army is trying to hype up his army for another assault on the President. And we see Kang's armor looks to be kind of a amalgamation of an Iron Man armor and Kang's usual suit. But that is where the issue ends. This is also proving quite interesting. The advertisements all seem to kind of point to the idea of the Illuminati being rather having a large presence in the book, but it's interesting that they don't so far. There's one more issue left. I assume that's going to be the issue where the Illuminati show up and kick the maker's ass 6 ways to Sunday. Moving on, though, to our next book, we've got Night Terrors, Night's End. Where we left off, the Nightmare Stone had been found. The heroes had awoken. And Insomnia was not even close to defeated and brought his nightmares into the waking world. So a little girl has a nightmare. As she talks about it, her parents kind of have a moment of realizing perhaps seemed like they had a similar nightmare, but it must have been someone they saw on TV. At the Hall of Justice, the assembled heroes are dealing with the sleepless nights. Deadman once again attempts to. Deadman is given a family by Insomnia, but even as what he wants, he eschews it to deal with Insomnia, while the heroes are facing off against the Sleepless Knights. But Deadman ends up sacrificing himself, saying that his deal with Ramakrishna was up long ago. And Wesley Dodds, Golden Age Sandman, takes the Dreamstone and manages to use it to reverse the effects of the Nightmare Stone. Boston, Insomnia is defeated. Boston sacrifices himself and moves on into the light. In defeat, Insomnia's family basically becomes versions of him and attack him, pulling him elsewhere. Everything seems to be back to normal. Wesley Dodds opts to return to the grave. And as the sun rises, Batman passes out. The theory being he's exhausted due to the fact that though he was asleep, Deadman was controlling his body. Mr. Terrific's working on fixing Red Tornado. After all, Red Tornado, Red Tornado and the various other robots did what they could to protect the waking world while Insomnia was doing his bit. Though, Superman notices something that Wonder Woman says it was wise to shut down the Hall of Justice, though Superman says they didn't. Guests just aren't coming. Wonder Woman pointed out, yet the day before it was full of families. Superman says that he thinks they're afraid. Superman says we saved the world. Why does it feel so wrong? With Diana adding that it's because they didn't win today. The little girl from the beginning of the issue is pulling down all of her superhero drawings and throwing them away. Both her and her father seem to think that superheroes are scary now. Elsewhere, Amanda Waller is speaking with her with those that are backing her, and while Insomnia's scheme was not part of their plan, it has helped accelerate the plan. People have seen superheroes as saviors, but that tide is turning. The public are slowly realizing that the heroes are dangerous, a threat to safety of the planet. She says that Insomnia gave them a gift. Two, in fact, as they have the Nightmare Stone now as well. But Waller adds that they found the helmet of fate on Lazarus Island, and Bright managed to steal the Nightmare Stone during the chaos. Both need the right person to take on the responsibility, and a shadowy figure agrees to try and be that right person, combining the helmet of fate and the Nightmare Stone and becoming Dr. Hate. And Waller states that the next Dr. Hate's target will be the Titans. And that is where Night Terrors ends. This was a much better... I said this a lot. This was a much better story than I expected it to be. The side stories, at least the ones that I read, were also very good. And I do kind of appreciate that. In some ways, I appreciate the fact they took the place of some of the DC books from the last couple of months. I feel like it made it easier to incorporate what happened into the overall, into everything. I'm not sure if it's not a concept I like, but I guess it's fine. Moving on, though, to our last book for the week, we've got Batman Catwoman, the Gotham War. Battle Lines. So, after Selina broke out from prison, she came up with a plan. Basically taking over the criminal underworld and doing what she could to keep violent and the kind of basically keep the kind of crime that really brings out the Bat family to a low, to a minuscule number, turning most of the henchmen and goons into cat burglars. Basically, being very much and trying to make sure that they're taken care of. That they're no longer just goons; they're more independent contractors. So, henchman comes home having recently worked for Professor Pig. He's taking care of his daughter. But after he gets home, he kind of says to himself that, Riddler, Freeze, Professor Pig, they're all the same, no matter who you work for. Bunch of bullshit promises, but they barely share the wealth. A cat comes by his window with a message saying, if you risk your life, you deserve the rewards, and giving an address in Alleytown. We had a brief rehash of Night Terrors, and of course, Batman, as I said, Batman passed out at the end. In his head, he's dealing a bit with Batman, with Zero-R, though it seems Zero is not alone, but that only appears to be the case for a single panel. Bruce wakes up, noting that he's in the Batacombs, and he's been Someone's been keeping him shaved, tending to him. Um, Oracle now knows the truth of his mechanical hand. And we learn that Bruce has been asleep for 8 weeks. But Batman suits up, goes out of the Gotham. Noting it's kind of quiet, but he interrupts the jewel heist, being committed by a couple of henchmen. He says it's a little out of their depth. But the two manage to escape, and Batman starts to think that what happened was a feint, and something's changed. He notices that something's changed in Gotham. Then Roland, the henchman from earlier, is practicing for a job with Catwoman, though it's a bit higher up than previous practices were. But word's gotten around to Catwoman people that Batman's back, and so Selina says external trading is on hold. Newbies stay in the training compound. Get word out to the drivers to be extra cautious. And adding that no score is worth your life or anyone else's. Oh, cripes. One of Marquise and Selina discuss things. And Selina decides that she's calling out a meeting. Elsewhere, Maxie Zeus is attempting to reappropriate the power from the power plant. But Robin, Tim Drake, beats him with an assist from Batman. Though Robin passes along the message that Catwoman wants to have a talk. Masks off. Most of the Bat family are present at the Kitty Cat Club waiting. Batman arrives fashionably late. And Selina explains her whole thing. That she's training them to be something more than they've been previously, and to maybe not work for Joker, Riddler, so on and so forth. Looks like Kate points out that what's going on is working. Dick seems to think that Selina just changed the crime. Tim starts pointing there's a big difference between a bodega owner being shot for the money they need to live on, but Duke finishes up by saying a millionaire who wakes up to find some jewels missing. Damien seems to think that all Selina's doing is making the goons better trained when they go back to whichever of the psychos they were working for. Spoiler points out, though, that Selina's giving them independence. Tim thinks about all this and kind of says that they need more data. Even says maybe Selina could show how they're being trained. See the change. Batman, however, is like, no, the mission is to stop crime, not allow some crimes because they appear more acceptable than others. But a bit of an argument between the two of them. Jason points out that Selina's not wrong. Dick's not sure what to make of it either. Jason is enjoying the seems to be enjoying the chaos that this is causing among the rest of the Bat family. Batman is still vehemently against the whole plan. Red Hood breaks into Selina's place to talk, but Selina initially figures that Jason's been sent to take her out. Her, Aiko, and Dario manage to take down Jason, but he says, "Hey, look, you're right, okay? But you're going to need more than you're going to need more when Batman comes. Not just the she's not just going to need the junior bats to stay out of her way. She needs help from the inside, and he gets what she's trying to do." But so he tells him to talk to Marquise. Go through her if he wants to help, but he can't be seen around her again if it's going to work. And she doesn't think that needs to be said, but no killing. The last thing they need is an even angrier Batman. Batman points out that he kind of confirms something, a theory that's been long postulated, that Batman is who he is, that Bruce Wayne is the mask. But the Bat signal is lit, and Bats goes to talk to Montoya. Montoya tells him about the breakout. But and she also points out that violent crime, Batman was gone for a while. Crime's down. Though Batman says that stats can be manipulated, which yes, they can be. But the streets tell him what he needs to know. And he says that she needs to prove herself. So if she wants in on how his city operates. Riddler is watching this and wonders aloud if perhaps Batman wants a new friend. Elsewhere, Roland, the former goon from earlier, is breaking into an apartment. Gets in, manages to steal the jewels, but the person who owns the place is there, pulls a gun on him. Batman goes into Flunky's, and it's Friday night. Flunky's is empty, practically. He states every haunt has been cleared out. Flunky's, the wharf, the railroads, and he kind of realizes that Selina did it. She really did. But it's not all quiet. The former flunky from earlier has been found on the street, dead, shot. Apparently, the condo he was breaking into was owned by Hannah Zhang of Zhang Chemicals. Hannah was on vacation in Central City, but she couldn't join because of work. Now, it was stated that Catwoman has set things up so that Roland's daughter will be taken care of if something happens to him. Well, but the way he sees it is that the way Batman sees it, Catwoman's plan is to create another orphan. And he says that the mission, the mission is always they stop crime, or we stop crime, and Zur-En-Arr agrees. And that is where the issue ends. Okay, so this is definitely starting off a bit more interesting than I thought it might. It's interesting that they're very clearly painting Batman as the villain. Obviously, Riddler's involvement will likely mean that there's that Batman is more the ideological villain, whereas Riddler plays more of a villain role. But I have to admit, a little surprised at that. And to be fair, you know, Selena's kind of got the right idea. Moving on to our last book for the week, we've got Riddler Year 1, number 6. Wrapping up the miniseries leading up to the events of last year's The Batman. Riddler leaves a message and train tickets for to Metropolis for a young woman to leave Gotham. He saw what the Falcones did, how the Falcones killed her father, after all. But we're seeing a lot of just pieces put into place. We also get a flashback to young Edward being given a tour of Arkham Asylum. But how things at the animal rescue place go a little sideways. We see some images of Batman dealing with Gotham's underworld, with Riddler wondering if Batman's just like him. Could Batman be in some building close by? When does he sleep? Will Batman be Riddler's friend? But the young woman Riddler contacted manages to escape. Gets on the train headed to Metropolis. Riddler does a little bit of work down at Animal Control to make it a little harder. Cause some slight problems for Falcone and his crew, leading to one of Falcone's men being killed by an alligator. This is reported to the police when Higgins' death is pointed out to the police, adding that someone's going to take the fall. Someone has to cover the losses. But Riddler sends some contacts sends some information to the chief, which pretty much has the chief wonder what it is he's going to do. As he's being further reminded over the phone, someone has to take the fall. The chief unalives himself, leaving a note apologizing and saying, "Remember the man you knew." And Riddler begins making his Riddler outfit. And the series ends with Riddler in his homemade outfit, now completed and with everything set up for the events of the film. It was an interesting series. There were things about it that were a little jarring, namely just the some of the choices made in layout, making it hard to read, especially when you've got legible print, but it's just incredibly hard to read, and yeah, it can be a little off-putting, which off-putting is not a bad idea for a series like that, but yeah, it was still quite good overall. Anyways, that's going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Big shout out to Patreon patron Xander Lee. Thank you so much for your support. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Mastodon, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.